There is a truth so powerful and unshakable that once you truly understand it, you will no longer fear failure the way you once did. The true key to success is your mind. If your mind is guided by a positive attitude, no failure will ever mean the end for you. You may be defeated temporarily. Yes, you may fall. You may lose your money. You may lose your relationship. You may lose your position. You may lose the deal you worked so hard to secure. But as long as you do not lose your mental stance, as long as you do not surrender that fundamental power that governs everything, you are never truly defeated, because success is often only a single decision away, made immediately after defeat. And failure, no matter how painful it may be, no matter how publicly it may have happened, as long as you direct your mind toward growth instead of hopelessness, it always carries within it the seed of an equal or even greater benefit. Every person experiences failure. What separates champions from those who lose is how they respond to it. Do they curse it, or do they learn from it? Do they allow it to define them, or do they use it as a stepping stone to move forward? Never forget this. What determines your future is not what happens to you. What truly matters is what happens within you. The person who can keep their mind clear, who can keep their spirit strong, who can keep their thoughts under discipline, that is the person who is truly unbreakable. For many years, I studied people who achieved extraordinary success in different areas of life. People who built vast empires, those who pioneered entirely new industries, leaders who changed the course of societies. And I can tell you this with complete confidence. Not one of them was exempt from defeat, but not one of them surrendered to it, because their minds remained firmly anchored in reality. To them, failure was not a verdict. It was a signal, not a rejection, but a guide pointing them in a new direction. When it is met with a positive mental attitude, failure stops being your enemy and becomes your greatest ally. Now I want to speak to the person who has recently experienced failure. Perhaps you have failed again and again. Perhaps you have asked yourself, why does this always happen to me? Let me give you a more powerful question. So, what am I going to do now? The first question is the voice of a victim. The second question is the choice of a winner. When you stumble, do not blame the ground beneath your feet. Study it carefully. Understand its nature. Improve your steps. Then begin walking again with greater awareness. A positive mental attitude does not mean denying the pain you have experienced. It means learning how to use it correctly. You do not ignore what went wrong. On the contrary, you analyze it carefully. You evaluate the situation objectively, and you ask yourself these questions. What did this experience teach me about myself? What did it reveal about my strategy? What truth did it expose about my preparation? What did it teach me about my beliefs? What do I need to change? What weaknesses did it uncover? Because failure never lies to you. If you have the courage to face it, it will place the truth before you with complete clarity. And the person who can face that truth without resentment becomes someone the world can hardly break. You must learn to look at failure in the right way. See it as a tool. See it as a test. See it as a teacher, because you are on a lifelong journey of learning, and the most valuable lessons are often found during the most difficult seasons. That is the price you pay. But what you gain in return, wisdom, strength, confidence, is worth far more than everything you lost. If you ignore the lesson, you will be forced to pay the same price again and again. But if you learn what it came to teach you, you will begin to think and act like a person of vision. Not because you never fail, but because you have learned how to respond to failure. When you build your mental attitude around growth, nothing you experience is ever wasted. Not your pain, not your losses, nor your setbacks. You begin to see that all of them are working in your favor. You realize that even the events you once believed came to destroy you were actually there to make you stronger. You begin to see your experiences through a different lens. Instead of saying, I failed, you say, I discovered one more way that doesn't work, and now I'm one step closer to the right solution. That is not escaping reality, that is mental discipline. So, how do you develop this mindset in the face of defeat? First, you begin choosing your thoughts with the same precision a surgeon uses when selecting surgical instruments. You do not allow fear, doubt, or self-pity to take root in your mind. The moment they appear, you pull them out by the roots. In their place, you plant courage, clarity, and confidence. Not just once, but over and over again, you remind yourself. This situation is temporary. I am still in control. What happened to me does not define me. I am the one who decides what happens next. I have witnessed countless people who lost everything financially but never lost their faith, go on to achieve successes they had never even imagined. I have seen people whose relationships came to an end, only to realize that they had never truly been whole, and when they rebuilt themselves, they attracted far greater blessings into their lives. I have seen doors slam shut in people's faces, but I have also seen even better ones open before those who refuse to stop walking. That is the person who turns failure into success. The person who keeps moving forward. Let's make one thing perfectly clear. Continuing to move forward does not mean repeating the same mistakes. It means moving ahead thoughtfully, growing continuously, and advancing with determination. You must evaluate yourself honestly and ask yourself these questions. What belief led me to make this decision? What blind spot did I fail to see? What warning did I ignore? What can I do better next time? And when will I begin? The person who asks these questions is no longer at the mercy of failure. They have become someone who extracts value from it. Approach failure the way a miner approaches solid rock, not with anger, but with curiosity, because they know that an ordinary-looking rock may contain precious ore as long as they keep digging. When most people take a hard hit, they walk away. A successful person chooses to dig a little deeper. They do not focus on how things appear at this moment. They focus on what those circumstances can become in the future. That is the fundamental difference between a strong person and a weak one. Now let me tell you something even more important. Very often, failure appears just before a major breakthrough. Many people quit only a few steps before the reward. Not because they were incapable, but because they lost their perspective. If they had continued for just one more day, made one more adjustment, spoken to one more person, they might have crossed the invisible line that leads to success. The true enemy of success is not failure. The real enemy is exhaustion. And when exhaustion is left unmanaged, it pushes people toward giving up. So how do you protect yourself against it? By continually feeding your mind the right way, by nourishing it with the right thoughts, by feeding it with a compelling vision, with written goals, daily affirmations, and disciplined habits. You do not drift with the current. You do not settle for merely hoping. You consciously program your mind with a definite purpose, just as a machine must be programmed to function flawlessly. You shape your own mental habits with the same level of care, until your default state is no longer weakness, but strength, until you reach the point where you can smile in the face of difficulty, not because it no longer hurts, but because you now understand what it is trying to give you. Allow me to say this with conviction. The person who refuses to resent failure becomes unstoppable. Most people take failure personally. They see it as an attack on their identity, but that is not the truth. It is not personal. It is structural. It is environmental. It is strategic. It has a solution, and it is always, yes, always, temporary. Never allow a temporary failure to become your permanent identity. You are not what happened to you. You are not the mistake you made. You are not the person who fell. You are the person who chose to rise again. So, what should you do now? Write down the lesson you learned. Revise your plan. Reignite the desire within you. Make the necessary adjustments. And take action again. Move quickly. Do not wait. Do not waste your energy trying to explain yourself, because momentum is the most powerful medicine. Movement restores the mind, and action restores the spirit. Do not sit among the ashes of the past any longer than necessary. Stand up, even if you rise slowly. Rise with your purpose. Rise with your head held high. Rise with the fire that burns inside you, because you are much closer than you think. This setback you experienced has taught you far more than success ever could. You are sharper now, more refined, wiser, and if you combine that wisdom with action, very little will be able to stand in your way. Failure is a test, but it does not exist to destroy you. It exists to make you stronger. So if you have failed, good. It means you are in the game. It means you had the courage to take action. Now take the failure you have experienced. Examine it from every angle and ask yourself this question: what am I going to do with this? Failure never arrives empty-handed. It always brings two gifts with it: pain and awareness. Pain is the first to reveal itself. Awareness, however, is the treasure hidden within it. The average person feels the pain and stays there. They become angry at it. They try to run away from it. They allow the pain to cloud their thinking and weaken their resolve. But the person who embraces a positive mental attitude, the one who says, there's something valuable within this experience that will serve me, and I am going to find it. That is the person who reaches true awareness. Now let's go even deeper. Do not waste your energy questioning whether you should have failed. It happened. It is now part of the past. What matters now is what you choose to do with that failure. Are you documenting it? Are you breaking it down and examining it carefully before time passes and it gets lost in the noise? Are you extracting every lesson it has to offer? Every defeat opens a window that teaches. That window remains open as long as you are willing to study it. Then it closes. Most people simply walk right past that window. They never even bother to look inside. Years of observation have taught me this: behind every great success you admire, there is a long story of failure, but you rarely hear about it. Why? Because successful people do not choose to live inside their defeats. They take the lesson they need and move forward. They keep what serves them. They leave the rest behind. They rewrite their story through action. That is how failure becomes invisible, not because it disappeared, but because it was transformed through action, through clarity, and through strength. Let me ask you a question. What would change in your life if you began seeing every problem as a project, if you treated every failure as the blueprint for a new plan? What if you truly believed that no experience is ever wasted unless you choose to waste it? The real issue is not escaping pain. The real issue is learning how to direct its purpose. That is the fundamental difference between champions and victims. It is the meaning they assign to what happens to them. A positive mental attitude is not simply about thinking pleasant thoughts. It is consciously choosing to give your pain a meaning that serves your destiny instead of your doubt. Now I want to share 5 disciplines that will help you turn every failure into success. You must practice them not just once, but again and again. These are not theories. They have been tested repeatedly in real life. They are mental and behavioral disciplines that will carry you through the fire. Not broken, but refined. The first discipline: stop and evaluate the situation clearly. Not every failure happens for the same reason. Some are mechanical, the wrong system was used. Some are emotional, the wrong attitude was adopted. Some are spiritual. They result from drifting away from your deepest values. Others are strategic, poor planning. Poor timing. You must be willing to stop and examine these things, not superficially, but with the precision of a surgeon. Ask yourself, at what point did I lose clarity? Where did I abandon the principles I claim to stand for? Which decision, if it had been made differently, would have changed the outcome? You do not evaluate the situation to drown in regret. You evaluate it to improve yourself. The second discipline, guard the gate of your mind. Failure creates fertile ground for poisonous thoughts, regret, shame, self-blame, paralyzing hesitation. These are not reality. They are invaders trying to enter your mind. That is why you must guard your mind like a soldier protecting sacred ground. Do not allow a single thought that weakens your willpower to settle there, and you accomplish this through repetition, by repeating the truth. Speak empowering words to yourself continually. While the world whispers hopelessness into your ears, say to yourself, I am still in control. I am still rising. This experience will not destroy me. It will make me stronger. The greatest temptation after failure is to stop and wait, to wait for your confidence to return, to wait for clarity to come back, to wait until everything falls perfectly into place. But this is a great illusion. Action is what rebuilds confidence. Movement is what restores clarity. Even while fear is still inside you, you must take a step, no matter how small. Even while the sting of defeat is still fresh, you must keep moving forward, because this is how you train your mind not to freeze in the future. If you continually postpone action, failure gradually becomes part of your identity. Break that cycle immediately. Take action now. The fourth discipline, build a strong recovery system for yourself. Do not rely on willpower alone. Create a structure that supports you. Develop daily habits that restore your energy and keep you balanced. Learn something new every day. Write down the lessons you learn. Repeat your affirmations consistently. Surround yourself with voices that move you forward, not ones that pull you back into the past. Build an environment that lifts you higher. The world will not do this for you, because the world is full of distractions and discouragement. You must intentionally create an environment that gives you strength. If you truly want to succeed, you must design your life not only to sustain you on your best days, but also to lift you up on your worst ones. The fifth discipline, use failure as a filter, not as your fate. Failure does not mean you have completely lost your way. It simply means you discovered that you were heading in the wrong direction. Make the necessary adjustment. Reset your course. Refocus on your goal, but never turn your mistake into your identity. You are not the event that happened to you. You are the person you choose to become because of what happened to you. A person with a positive mental attitude treats failure as feedback. They do not take it personally. They extract the lesson it contains, and they use it to make their next step even stronger. There is something else I want you to understand. There is no such thing as a permanent loss. There is only wisdom that has not yet been claimed. And wisdom is what transforms wounds into symbols of strength. Once you begin to understand this, your relationship with failure changes completely. You no longer fear it. You begin to welcome it, not because you enjoy defeat, but because you know it is the next teacher on your journey. Failure becomes a natural part of your process. It becomes proof that you are not shrinking, but growing. Proof that you are not retreating, but daring to try. Proof that you are pursuing a goal too great to be achieved on the first attempt. Do not envy the person who has never failed. Feel sorry for them because they have never truly grown. They have never been tested. They have never passed through the fire that reveals genuine greatness. When the storm comes, that person will fall. But you who have learned to fall and rise again, are becoming stronger every single time. You are building something even more valuable than success. You are building resilience, and resilience will carry you far beyond where charm, talent, or luck alone ever could. That is the greatest truth of all. Success is not never failing. Success is making it a habit to rise again after every defeat. Defeat does not stop you. It asks you only one question. Do you truly want this? If your answer is yes, you keep going, you try one more time, you learn again, you build again, and eventually you succeed. Because life does not reward the person who never falls. It rewards the person who knows how to rise every time they do. Today, I want you to remember a failure you experienced in the past, not so you can relive it, but so you can look at it from a different perspective. Ask yourself these questions. What strength did this experience give me? What part of me did it develop? Which quality I possess today would I never have had if I hadn't gone through that failure? These are the questions that transform the mindset of a victim into the mindset of a leader, because leaders do not merely react to what happens to them, they give it meaning, and the meaning they assign to it shapes their destiny. Never forget, a positive mental attitude is not blind optimism, nor is it denying reality. It is standing face to face with reality and still choosing your own strength. It is continuing to walk even while you feel pain. It is taking action even while you feel fear. It is making a decision even while you hear the voice of doubt. That is what true courage is. And courage is the cornerstone of every great achievement. Life will test you again. New obstacles will stand in your way. You will experience new rejections. You will face new disappointments. None of these should surprise you, because they are all natural parts of the journey. But this time, you will be different, because you will no longer fear failure. You will understand it. You will use it to your advantage. You will make it serve your growth. Every failure will make you a little wiser, a little stronger, a little more resilient. And one day people will look at your success and say, "What a lucky person." But bees will never know about the sleepless nights you endured. They will never see the moments when you fell. They will never know about the battles you fought when no one was watching. They will never understand how many times you had to start over. They will only see the outcome. But you will know the entire journey, and the very thing that transformed you into the person you are today will have been that journey itself. So the next time you experience failure, smile, take a deep breath, and remind yourself of this. This is not an ending. This is an education. This is not a punishment. This is preparation. I'm not defeated. I am learning. I am growing. And I will not stop. That is exactly what a positive mental attitude is. That is the power that transforms defeat into victory, and that is precisely why no failure can ever truly defeat. A person who lives with a positive mental attitude